Tottori Haunted House. There's said to be an abandoned house in Kurayoshi City, Tottori Prefecture, known only as the Haunted House to ghost spot enthusiasts. This haunted house has been abandoned for so long that the weather has deteriorated it so badly that it's now impossible to even enter. The floorboards have rotted away and are now full of holes, making it extremely dangerous to go in. But there's also a particular urban legend surrounding this house. It's said that if you drive past it during the night, then a dark, shadowy figure will cross the road and enter the haunted house grounds, before disappearing. One young man who saw the figure stopped his car and got out to investigate, but despite following the figure, he found nothing. Even more frighteningly, nobody knows who used to live in the house or what happened to them. Where the residents went and why the house was abandoned to this day remains unknown, although there is, of course, much speculation. And if you're brave enough to attempt investigating the house for yourself, well, you may find that you bring something unwanted back with you. The spirits that are said to lurk in this haunted house will also apparently follow people home, and the young man who investigated the figure he saw reportedly heard random footsteps in his own home upon returning, despite the fact nobody else was there with him. If you don't want to bring a surprise visitor back as well, it's undoubtedly best to ignore the house and any figures you see near it entirely. Online Devil Nanako. Back in the 1990s, the internet was only just starting to take off in Japanese homes. Both computers and the internet were still expensive, so only few people had regular access. Blogs, although they existed, were rare, and there weren't many news websites either, as most preferred to stick to traditional mediums. But the one type of website that did excel during this time was the anonymous bulletin board. You could find boards for all sorts of topics, ranging from simple things such as cooking or art, to more horrifying, such as ghost stories or true crime. But amongst all these boards, you could also find something far more distressing. Bulletin boards for people who wished to end it all. Several of these were said to exist during the 90s, and people regularly visited them to talk about how best to do the deed. It was also around this time that a particular urban legend sprang to life, the legend of Nanako. Nanako was an online persona said to frequent these boards. Nobody knew who or perhaps even what Nanako was, but they would visit these boards and give specific instructions to the people who gathered there. Nanako would organize times, dates, locations, and even offer transportation advice on how to reach this specific spot at this specific time and, in effect, organize mass deaths. It was always Nanako who would suggest, "Hey, we should all die on this date at this location." It's said that several of these gatherings actually took place, and the bulletin board users never appeared again after the date Nanako suggested. All except Nanako, that is. Nanako never actually took part in any of the gatherings they suggested, and over they visited different boards, luring more victims to join them on a specific date at a specific location, only to never actually show up. This led to rumors that Nanako was, perhaps, an online ghost, leading others to their deaths, or worse, a regular human who took perverse pleasure in the game of life or death they were playing. The Birthday Man. This urban legend was especially popular during the Showa period, and in particular during the mid-1970s. During this period, there were said to be sightings of someone only known as the Birthday Man all over Japan. He was especially common in the Kanto and Tohoku regions, and the reason everyone called him the Birthday Man was simple. Whenever people came across him, he would be operating a small stall on the side of the road, selling birthday cakes. That was it. He had no fixed address, and people might stumble upon him anywhere, meaning that you couldn't deliberately seek him out, but only find him by chance. It was said that if you were one of the rare few who came across the birthday man, then you were in luck. Good luck would soon follow, and if you also bought a cake from him, that luck would double. He didn't appear for just anyone, so if you found him, then you were one of the lucky chosen ones, and good fortune would follow. One day, a woman happened to run across the birthday man, and happily bought a cake from him. It was her cousin's birthday soon, so the chance happening was perfectly timed. But it seemed there was something wrong with the cake, and after eating it, the cousin fell sick with food poisoning and had to be hospitalized. How could such a thing happen? The birthday man was supposed to bring good luck, not bad. This cousin was supposed to go on an overseas trip for their birthday after the party, but it had to be cancelled because they were in the hospital. The woman who bought the cake felt awful, and she couldn't help but feel anger at the birthday man for ruining her cousin's plans. But then she received some news that immediately changed her mind. It turned out that the plane her cousin was supposed to be on had crashed. The food poisoning had saved their life. Both were immediately thankful to the birthday man, and it seemed that sometimes his good luck worked in mysterious ways. Terrifying toothpicks. As you may be aware, it's often said in Japan that if an inanimate object lives long enough, then it may gain a soul. Rituals are often held to get rid of items that are no longer needed so that they don't become possessed. But according to this urban legend, even the smallest items you might not think twice about can cause immediate danger. Are you a big toothpick user? Some people swear by them after every meal, while others might rarely ever touch one. However, if you do regularly use them, then beware. Yes, even these tiniest of items can gain a soul and come back to haunt you. It's said that if you constantly throw toothpicks away without snapping them in half first, then you are inviting danger. Even worse, if you don't deposit them in the bin, but rather lose them in the cracks of the floor or furniture in your house, then over time, evil spirits may find their way to them. These terrifying toothpicks will then strike back, and during the night, you may notice a strange presence in your bedroom and something resembling a tiny samurai lurking in the darkness. This will be accompanied by a strange chanting, but if you try to find them, they will already be gone. And then, before long, you will find yourself becoming more and more sick with each passing day, until finally, a high fever claims you. All because you didn't dispose of your toothpicks properly. Don't look in wells. There are all sorts of urban legends regarding wells, but this particular one states that you mustn't ever look inside one, especially on a moonlit night. There's a very good reason for this. Beliefs and customs vary all over the country, but this particular legend states that if the moon is high in the sky, then you must avoid looking down a deep, dark well. Why? Well, according to one local custom, it's said that if you peer into a dry well on a moonlit night, you might suddenly discover that the well is now full of water. Naturally, if you were aware that the well was dry, then this would be a strange and concerning phenomena. But it's not very likely that everyone is going to be aware that this particular well in this particular spot is dry. So, if you look down and see water, you might think nothing of it. Either way, you should never reach out and try to drink this water. As you lean forward into the well, the moonlight will cast a shadow of your body over the water, and the further you lean in, the more that shadow stretches out as well, until it finally grabs you and pulls you in. If you are lucky enough, you might be able to avoid it in time, but if not, the figure in the water will drag you down into the well, all the way to the bottom, and there's no going back. The next person who comes across the well will then find it empty again, like it always was, and will have no idea that somebody went missing inside it. It's said that if you come across a well that has a lid or netting covering the top, then that is the reason why, and you should most definitely avoid it while the moon is out.